Welcome, I'm Luke at Cloud Consultant, and today it's Unit 4 of our study cram for AZ-900, which is the Azure Fundamentals. Previously we've covered cloud concepts, describe, benefits and the service types. Today we're moving on to Azure architecture. Specifically we're going to talk about the core architecture of Azure. So to start us off, what is Azure? Well, continually expanding set of cloud services. It's currently over 100. They help you meet current and future business challenges. So when you set up an Azure account, you'll see that there's a variety of layers here. So first you have the account which you create. An account can have multiple subscriptions, which are logically distinct parts. And within each of these subscriptions, you can have a bunch of resource groups, which can then have a bunch of resources. That's just the basic structure. Now to get an account, you can get it via Azure, via a Microsoft rep, or a Microsoft partner. You can also get a free account, so this is normally just via Azure, and you can get a normal free one or a student one. You can see here they have different service offerings. Essentially for a free account you get credits, which you can have for 30 days, it's like $200. 25 always free products, and free access to popular products for a year. And for the student one, you get certain services free for 12 months, credits for the 12 months, and some dev tools. And then for your development, you also have here a sandbox account, which is essentially an account where you can go on and run stuff and make stuff and do things without having to pay for it. You can get that, you can see that here, that's at that learn.microsoft.com. You can just follow the AZ-900 course, which I'll put in the description, you can see it there. So that's the account architecture. The physical architecture, the infrastructure. So we have these different components here. We have regions, we have availability zones, and then we have this region pair concept. So an Azure region is a designated area. For instance, you get US West, US East, UK South, you get, a variety of regions, and these are a logical grouping of one or more availability zones. An availability zone, you can think of it as a specific data center. We'll get onto it later, but you want multiple availability zones if you want to have a highly available application. And a region pair is just two regions which are paired together for disaster recovery purposes. So this AZ1 and AZ2, you might replicate stuff between here for high availability, but to go that extra step to really ensure, you want to then put it in another region. We'll get to it in a bit, but essentially it's so that then if this one fails, you get this one as backup. Now, Azure services that support AZs fall into either zonal, so they're stuck to a region, zone redundant, so they're across zones, or non-regional. Region pair, examples West US and East UK, it's for extensive outage, planned Azure updates, blah blah blah. Now you also get sovereign regions, so think of here as like China or US government, and these are isolated for obvious reasons, compliance and legal. Now, final part of the core infrastructure is the Azure management infrastructure. So we vaguely talked about that up here, the account architecture, but we'll go over it a bit more depth here. So you have resource groups, which is essentially a group of resources. So it's an easy way, so if you were making an app, say, you could keep all of the resources for the app in one group. You could always manage them and find them that way. You can also then inherit, you can see here, actions or settings inherited by current and future resources, meaning then if you want someone to have access to the whole app stack, you just give them access to the resource group. And a resource group is one or more resources. Next up, you have your Azure account with these subscriptions. Now, subscriptions, they give you billing boundaries and access control boundaries. So you could have only a set number of people in dev, in test, and in production. That's a nice normal way to break up your subscriptions for companies. Finally, we have this thing called our management group. So you can see here that within a management group, you can have other management groups, which can then have subscriptions, or you can have other subscriptions. So you can see it this layer here. This is the management group. Subscription is a key. Now, why? To create a hierarchy that applies a policy or provide user access to multiple subscriptions. So here you could want one person in a specific region to have these subscriptions, another person in this one, and a way to logically group these together is to leverage this management group structure. Again, the same for here, you could want someone to have the whole of IT, so they could have this entire thing. Now, key facts that you might need to know for the exam: 10,000 management groups can be supported in a single directory. And a management group tree can support up to 6 levels in depth, excluding the root and the subscription. So in this example here, that's a 3 depth, that's the bottom and top, and 3 in between. And each group and sub can support only 1 parent, so you can only be in 1 here, for example. So there we go. That's core Azure infrastructure. Come back next time for compute and networking. Hope you enjoyed.